Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Linda Lovisa, and today I'm going to be demonstrating a Summerland landscape. It's quite special. This photograph is not really all that great, but watch to see what the magic paint can do to a very ordinary photo. Now, in this photograph, which you can barely see, is the Summerland steam train track, and I just thought that it had a really neat perspective this photo was taken from above looking down. So this way you can, I think you'll get some really nice little tips from this little demonstration. All right, let's get started. Oh, I have a beautiful bouquet today, and they are irises and some beautiful cornflowers from my garden. So enjoy. I'm enjoying it anyway. So here we go. Let's get started on this. So what I did on my canvas ahead of time is I gave my canvas a yellow tonal wash. And the yellow tonal wash really just brings everything together. And it's a nice tonal wash for whatever you're doing because it's pretty neutral. And what I did is I used just yellow deep to draw in what I was going to do, and you can see there's some chalk lines there. You can barely see them. But also what I did is I did where the train track is a little bit darker so you can actually see where that train track is located. So here we go. All right, so I'm going to start off with a nice big brush. I find that if you start with a small brush, if you start with a brush that's a little bit too small, then you're going to start thinking detail. So if you start with a little bit wider brush, first of all, you're going to move some color around a little quicker, and you're going to end up with a looser stroke work. And that's, in the beginning, that's what you want. So let's get started. So now I'm going to block in the sky area, and as I've often, described, mentioned is a better word, the sky, I usually like to start with white. Even though the sky is blue, I like to deposit the white first, because this way you can add a little bit of blue as you go along, and it's not going to be too dark. You have some control. This particular sky has it's a sort of overcast day, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of that cerulean blue just on the end of my brush. You can see just a small amount there, and I'm just going to dab it in there. There we go. And then just do like a bit of a cross-hatching blend and pull that in to give my sky that overcast look. There we go, like so. There we are. And there we go. We've captured that overcast look. Now the mountains in the background, I have the blue and the white on my brush, so I'm going to pick up some of that ultramarine blue and the white with a tiny bit of red deep, not too much, to bring in those purple mountains in the distance. There we go. And a little bit more paint on my brush. There we go. And there we are. And there we go. Pull that down. That beautiful distant mountain color. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in what I call offloading my brush in a neutral area. So I want to remove some of this color off my brush, and instead of rinsing it in my water bucket, I just deposit it somewhere on my canvas. So where can I deposit this on my canvas where it's going to add to the painting? I'm going to deposit it here and over here. So if you think about it, look how much paint you would have been just dumping in your water bucket. like that. And now I can go into these back mountain hills. I can pick up the unbleached white with a little bit of that yellow deep and start to bring in some of that stroke work back there for those mountains where there's bare patches. This is the Okanagan Valley, so a lot of the, we're a semi-arid part of the country, so there's a lot of dry rock, cliffs, mountains. There we go. So we've got that color in there now. And over here, I'm going to bring that same color right here. Then I'm going to just kind of deposit that over here like that. There we go. And all I'm doing is I'm just blocking in color, what I call local color. So over here, I'm going to add a little bit more of that unbleached white over here. Here we go, some of that like that. A little tiny bit over here too. Now, I know that these trees are sort of gray tones, and then you've got this block of yellow trees. So these are willows, and the willows have those really bright yellow leaves in the spring. So I'm going to push the season forward a little bit. You can do that because you have that artistic license. So before I do that, I'm going to start with a fresh brush, or I'm actually going to just put this one on my palette for now because I might need it again. And I'm going to load up another brush, and I'm going to pick up some of the greens in here, some of the yellows. So I'm going to start with yellow. And I'm going to bring a little bit of that yellow over here too. Now, we've got some poplar trees here that are just starting to leaf out. So now that I've got the yellow deposited, I'm going to add a little bit of the cobalt blue. And it's got that nice spring yellow. And add a little bit more over here as well. So the lighting in this painting is coming from this direction over here. It's coming from the left. So now these trees here haven't leafed out yet. So the reason why I did that violet color here is because when I add the yellow green to it, it's going to give me a good background for those trees that haven't leafed out yet. And it's going to give me a very soft gray as I deposit the paint, moving it around, and over here too. Now I'm not going to leave them like that, of course, and this is just blocking in. So getting a feel for the scene first. Put my glasses on so I can see how much paint I'm using. When I don't have my glasses on, I can't tell how much paint I've got on my canvas. So let's get some more paint on here. So now I'm starting to bring in the grasses alongside the railroad track. And it has an interesting perspective. It really narrows here at the bottom. Now I haven't gotten the railroad track yet. I'm just going on the edges of it. And then we've got some dark trees behind there, so let's get some of that happening. Ultramarine blue with the yellow deep. And I'm just going to bring that up like that and just cut that in there. There's not enough paint here. Oh, don't worry, I'll fix that and bring that back here too. Notice how I've done those trees. There's not enough paint back here either, but like I said, this is the block-in stage. I will go back into those areas later. And now I'm starting to bring in some of the trees that are on the cliff. They're a little bit smaller, some of them. And of course, I've got to bring this in over here. and over here. Now, I love to get out there to take photographs of all kinds of different things, and I never know what's going to inspire me when. So when I'm out driving around and I see something, I take a photo of it, and I put it in a folder, and it's just there when I need it. And this was one of those days. Not that I had any really great inspiration to paint railway tracks or this type of scene. It just kind of happened that I was just at the right place at the right time, and it was like, oh, that's kind of pretty. That would be an interesting painting, and took some photos. So I really encourage you to use your own reference material, by the way. I think that makes the paintings become part of you, I guess. That shows in your artwork. If you've been there, you're going to add that little bit of that moment in your work. You're going to add that extra special touch, or something that you saw is going to stay with you a lot more than if it's just something that you see in a magazine, or places that you've been are always much more interesting to paint. And not only that, then you have it's a conversation piece. You know, when someone's looking at your artwork, even if it's, even if you're not a professional painter, even if just someone's looking at your artwork at home or something that you've drawn, if you can say, yeah, that was a great day, we had, we saw a pheasant, or on this particular day we did see a pheasant, and the sun was shining, or it came out, or it quit raining, then you can talk about what you were doing. And that is really the beauty of using your own reference material. You have something to talk about. It's kind of like going on a holiday without actually really spending a lot of money on a holiday. You just drive around and, look at what's around you. I often get, oh, I don't know what to paint. Look around you. There's lots to paint. Just, and you just need to get out and explore your hometown, explore little parks near your home. There's so much out there. It's just a matter of being out there to, to witness it. And if you can't get out there, we all have old photographs we've taken from, from trips from long ago. Pull those out and see what inspires you from those images. And I bet you'll find something that really strikes a chord for you. It says, oh yeah, I'd like to paint that because I remember when we were there with so-and-so, and it was such a great time, and there we go. There's so many different ways of looking at your reference material. Just going to bring that in right now. A little bit of a shadow crossing the tracks there, and it kind of goes up like this, something like that, and over here too. And sometimes I like to bring, I usually like to bring the shadows in, fairly soon. So there's a bit of an embankment here, so it's not going to stay quite that harsh, by the way. And I'm not going to really paint in the tracks at the moment, because that is something that you would do much later on in the detail stage of your painting. So I'm bringing in a little bit of that rusty red color up in here in between those trees. So the reds and the greens are complements, and it's going to create some depth back there, which you want. And I'm just going to tuck that in like that. I'm going to bring in some more stuff there too, but I'm just going to do that for now. And now let's get some of this part established. So I have the red and the yellow on my brush, and I also have some blue on here as well. So it's pretty much a primary brush. The other brush that I was using had the parchment white on it, unbleached white, pardon me. So I'm going to pick up that brush and pick up some more of that unbleached white. And I'm just going to deposit. And then I'm also going to pick up some of the red light, cadmium red light. And let's see, what else do I need? The cobalt blue. And I want some earthy colors in here with the yellow, aerolite yellow deep. It's going to give me those Okanagan grasses color. Now, you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, this is a mess at the moment. But again, you're blocking in color, you're blocking in shapes, you're establishing the scene. And that's what you want to do in the beginning. You're not looking at a whole bunch of detail in the beginning. You're looking at just getting it laid in there. That's the most important thing. If you get into detail too soon, then it's going to affect the whole painting. So notice how I'm bringing in that really pretty color up here. That's that peachy color. There's a whole bunch of trees that don't really have any leaves on them right now. What I'm doing is I'm bringing in that nice warm color to the scene. This is where your artistic license comes in. So it looks like I said in my introduction, it looks like a fall scene, but it's actually spring. And it's because of the color of the willow trees when they first come out. The color is yellowish green. So I'm going to pick up a cadmium yellow medium and get some of these trees in here. And these were poplar trees. And I'm just going to bring in a little bit more green. I'm going to push the season forward a little bit by adding a bit more green, a little bit brighter. So I picked up some of that manganese blue, and it's going to give me a brighter spring green. Phthalo blue would also do the same thing. And while I'm talking about color, if you have, if you're having, if you're working on a painting and you're not sure what color to put together to, to find the color that you're looking for, you can put a little note in comments, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. And I also teach classes online every Tuesday, 52 weeks of the year. There might be a week missing in there, but every week. And my students love it because it's consistent, and they get a video, they get the introduction to the class, plus the video, and they also get the recap of the class with points to remember, and they find that very helpful. Now I just turned that tree into an evergreen. That's funny. The reason why I think it's funny is because I remember Bob Ross saying, if you don't like your tree, turn it into a mountain. He used to have funny, cute little comments like that. So This reminds me of something he would say. So we have poplar trees that kind of look like evergreens at the moment, but let's change that. Here we go. I'm just going to change the shape a little. Now, just by bringing in that green here, notice how it has changed what this looks like at the moment. And let's bring in a little bit more of that brighter green. I better put my glasses back on so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Starting to cut into this area a little bit more. There we are. And here as well. A little bit brighter green. Now I'm going to pick up some of that cadmium yellow medium and start to brush that color in here a little bit. Still leaving that yellow background. I want a brighter green, so I'm going to use the cadmium yellow light to bring some of that spring green to the tops of these. And I believe that these trees are, it's hard to say. Yeah, it's difficult to say, but they obviously come into leaf a little bit later than the willow does. So I'm not going to put too many leaves on them, but I do want to bring in a little bit of green. I want this painting to have that spring feeling, but just push the season ahead a little bit. Shape these trees a little more. There we go. Now I have a lot of work to do on here, but I've got it almost completely blocked in. Notice how I'm bringing that little bit of pink in the peachy color in the background there, just that touch of it. There's a lot of green back here, so by adding that little bit of warmth from that peachy color that I had mixed earlier back here really does add to those trees at the back. And I will need some smaller brushes to get in there, but in the beginning I like to use a big brush because then you're getting a sense of the painting a little quicker. So by picking up a little bit of cobalt blue, this brush is giving me a really nice violet, gray violet. I'm just going to bring that in. And of course, details are at the very end, towards the end of your painting. So by blocking in with large strokes, you're getting the essence of the scene. And then you go back into it with fresh eyes, and then you start to work the details. I'm just going to lay in some color here where the tracks are, and I'm going to use a smaller brush because a smaller brush, of course, I can get into those little spaces. I'm using the unbleached white with the ultramarine blue. It's giving me a bit of a gray, and I'm just going to bring that in. Now I'm not looking at doing any of the detail stroke work for the tracks, really just working on getting the perspective of those tracks going way off in the distance. That should be probably a little bit lower in my scene. I think this is where it should have ended, right here. And that's okay. Like I've mentioned before, painting is a series of adjustments. You're adjusting shape, you're adjusting form, you're adjusting color, you're adjusting light. Okay, let's get in there a little bit. So I'm just adding our light deep in there. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of that unbleached white, not too much, just to mix it, make it a little bit more Now it's quite a dark shadow there, so it does need to be darker, because our light is coming from this direction. And I haven't stepped back at all. And it's really important to step back, because when you step back, then you see areas that you need to adjust. And I have to tell you that when I step back from these little video clips, I always say, oh, I should have gone here, I should have gone there. So it's just a natural thing to have happen. So I'm always really pleased when I can show you the end results of all of this effort in the beginning. But the beginning part of the painting is so important. So is the end, but the beginning is the most important, I find. Now I do need to step back, and I'm just going to give this brush a bit of a scrub here and over here as well. Now there's really not much paint that's being deposited here, and I'm just basically removing any paint so that when I put it in my water bucket, there's less paint being dumped. And there we go. Just bring some of this down a little bit. And there's where our tracks are. And that will be a little bit noticeable, more noticeable next time you see this painting when it's all completed. Now, if you're interested in any of my classes, they are on my website at lindalovisa.artcanada.ca. And the type of paint that I'm using is Canadian-based company, TriArt. Give it a try. Thank you for joining in today, and I'd love to hear from you. Now this is just blocked in, and I hope that you give this a try. Double and triple loading your brushes is so much fun.